Our reporter, Kim Lengle, she led this undercover investigation, and she's here now to discuss her findings. Kim?
That's right, Rich. Now, despite the slogans that these crisis pregnancy centers are advertising that you won't find hype, politics, or judgment at their facilities, that is, in fact, all we found. Our investigation got an eye-opening introduction into what most women at their most vulnerable would hear at a crisis pregnancy center. The one we went to is run by Expectant Mother Care, a pro-life group that has at least a dozen centers throughout New York City. While the controversy surrounding crisis pregnancy centers has been well documented, never before has it been caught on camera, until now. When we began our undercover investigation, critics told us we'd hear false claims and exaggerations about abortion, but we didn't expect to hear this.
If you had the procedure done, it would have to be taken out in pieces and then reassembled, and then in some cases those pieces are then sold, donated, for profit for research.
And before we explain how I ended up with a lifelike model of a fetus in my hand, we'll take you back to the beginning. Our investigation began on the phone.
Bridge, how may I help you?
The question we posed was simple. I think I might be pregnant, and I want to know what my options are. Initially, the conversation seemed comforting and promising.
Any questions that you have about anything, you can ask me, and I will give you very upfront and honest answers.
We spoke to Bridget, who identified herself as a counselor for an organization called The Bridge in Queens, New York. During our 10-minute conversation, Bridget told me she was being honest 4 times.
I'm going to be very honest with you, Kim. I'm giving you a very honest answer on everything, and I will give you very upfront and honest answers. I just hope that you realize I'm trying to be honest with you and open.
Despite the fact that studies have repeatedly found no link between abortion and the increased risk of breast cancer, future infertility, and mental health problems, anti-choice groups still make the claim.
Every time that a woman goes for an abortion, they actually increase their risk of breast cancer.
What's worse, Bridget said that I was even more at risk. All this from a 10-minute phone conversation.
I feel that you would be very much a person that would have this if you did have the abortion. There's so much negative things that go on with the abortion. I do not think it would be the best thing for you.
A woman having a first trimester abortion can be reassured that when she does want to have a baby, when the time is right, that her health will be the same. She'll be just the way she was.
And as far as the claim between breast cancer and abortion,
there is no connection between abortion and breast cancer. It's not controversial. It's done. There is no connection at all. So when women are told that, it's complete deception.
And 5 major medical bodies agree there is no link. Dr. Davis has treated several women who came to her after being misled by crisis pregnancy centers. The saddest and most tragic case, we'll call her Susan. Dr. Davis testified before the New York City Council that at 32 weeks pregnant, in her 3rd trimester, Susan came to see Dr. Davis about an abortion. Susan was previously under the care of a crisis pregnancy center that Dr. Davis says provided faulty sonograms and manipulated her into postponing her abortion until it was too late.
The whole time that this was going on, they told her that she didn't have to worry, she didn't have to rush, there was no time issue because they do abortion in New York City up until term, which is patently ridiculous. There is no such thing as abortion at term in New York City. That is not something that happens. So she didn't think that she had to hurry because she thought that she had time. So when she came to me, she was too pregnant. Her partner had abandoned her. She had no money. She had 3 other children. She had no intention of being pregnant. And when she became pregnant, during the time of her pregnancy, she'd been using drugs and alcohol. She very responsibly went to end the pregnancy, and now I had to tell her, you're going to have a baby.
For most women, the decision to end a pregnancy is complex and deliberative. According to the Guttmacher Institute, an independent nonprofit that publishes trends on reproduction, the reasons women give for having abortions show a deep understanding of the serious consequences an unplanned childbirth can have on them and their families. More than 70% of women cited financial and relationship problems as reasons they chose abortion.
The whole purpose of the Crisis Pregnancy Center is to stop people from getting the medical care that they set out to get. And this is a person who was being responsible, doing the right thing, getting in early, trying to get things taken care of, and now she winds up with the baby that she didn't want.
Our hidden camera investigation began like this.
Right.
Ready for the shirt?
Yes.
And then the camera's going to go through this one. The wires and recording device are hidden underneath my shirt, while a tiny camera designed as a button captures the images in front of me. Our quest to experience New York City's crisis pregnancy centers led us to the doorsteps of EMC, Expectant Mother Care, which operates close to a dozen centers in New York City. A confidential source told us from her experience, this operation is the worst offender. We wanted to learn for ourselves, but tracking them down proved tougher than we thought. Turns out they had already left this downtown location, so we headed uptown to Times Square, 1601 Broadway. It's the address listed on EMC's website, but it didn't look like a medical facility at all. In fact, EMC wasn't listed as having an office in the building. When we called EMC, a young woman answered simply saying hello. She asked us if Julie sent us. She told us to come to 79th Street and Park Avenue in New York's posh Upper East Side and ask for Marnie. Our conversation began with a simple question.
Okay, so you're pregnant?
Less than 3 minutes into the conversation came this question about my religion.
Do you have like a religious affiliation? Do you have something like with that, or?
The office, which was a small room inside a medical practice, seemed legitimate, but when I asked if there was a doctor I could see, Marnie said no.
You know, we just rent this little space here.
In fact, at no point did Marnie discuss her qualifications to give medical advice. Halfway through the visit, Marnie played a DVD of a 9-week-old fetus being aborted. It was graphic, too graphic to show on TV and not medically accurate. Conveniently, Marnie said this baby was just like my baby, 9 weeks old. She had no calculations to back it up, just a hunch. And before I knew it, I was holding in my hand a lifelike model of a 9-week-old fetus, just like my baby. Marnie said I needed to forge a connection to it.
What would you do? I mean, we really, I can't in like good conscience advocate this to you in any way, either for you or the child, obviously. I know people who've done it. My mom had abortions.
Critics of the Crisis Pregnancy Center say volunteers like Marnie use manipulation to delay a woman's decision to have an abortion. The fact is, the further along in pregnancy the woman is, the more expensive and inaccessible abortion becomes.
You have time. I mean, you have as much time, you know, and time I think is just the best thing, because when, like, you know, when it's overwhelming, you're freaking out, like, you may not be able to think through it as rationally as later on you would want to, you know, so that's definitely what I recommend, is just wait.
And just when we thought we heard it all, we were told about an underground black market for aborted fetuses. Marnie says it was supported by abortion doctors who trick women like me into aborting their pregnancies.
And at this point, you know, if you had the procedure done, it would have to be taken out in pieces and then reassembled, and then in some cases those pieces are then sold, donated, you know, for profit, for research, for things like that. Like, I mean, it sounds insane, but it's a whole like crazy industry, and there's nothing good about the motivation behind doing it, and there's nothing about it that really treats you with any kind of respect. It's kind of an approach of like an assembly line thing, you know, and it's about the money. And, you know, like we've even encountered girls who, you know, they do the procedure, they're done, they're like out the door, and then like they can't even stand up straight, you know, because it's just like, you know, I don't know.
Now, in the past 30 years, 3 states' attorney generals have attempted to regulate crisis pregnancy centers, all with limited results. Once in 1987, again in 95, and then in 2002, most recently during the Spitzer administration. As Attorney General Eliot Spitzer tried to get at the root if CPCs were really practicing medicine without a license. Subpoenas were issued, but the question of legality or wrongdoing was never addressed. New York City Council passed a law this year forcing CPCs to disclose that they're not medical facilities. That law was challenged and is not currently being enforced.